Hello, my dear friends, and welcome back to 3D Printing 101. So the first main sort of step in designing once you understand the basics is sketching. So we'll get into the more, nitty-gritty 3D modeling aspects in a different lesson. But first we have to understand, how do you make basic shapes? Not even thinking about, cubes and prisms and things like that. How do you make a square, a circle? How do you make a complex design like a logo? So in this episode, we're going to talk about everything you need to know to start sketching. We're going to go through the basic tools that are shown on Fusion 360. And even if you're not using Fusion 360, the things you're going to learn in this episode are going to apply to other softwares as well. So don't panic if Fusion 360 is not your jam, but I would strongly recommend it. And if you're not sure what software to use, you can refer back to our chapter on software. So let's get started. All right, so here I am in a new part in Fusion 360. So at the top here, you'll see, the first thing you'll see is the create section. So the create section allows you to do all of the basic functions and a couple more in-depth ones. But all of these things really come after you've done the sketch. You can't revolve something if you have no sketch. You can't extrude anything if you have no sketch. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click this little icon up here, and that is create sketch. And here you'll see the three planes that we have to work with. And if you're doing something that is working from base up, we're going to click this one, and that's what we're going to click for now. So here, this is what would be on the build plate. So this is the horizontal plane. But know that any way that you design this, you can reorient that part in your slicer, or even here in Fusion 360. So don't feel like the way that you're designing it right now is going to be set in stone. It's not going to be like that forever. If you want to change something, you totally can. It's not that hard. So going across the top here, the first thing you'll see is the line tool. So the line tool, you click a point and then you make a line. And you can continue to do that, and generally it locks into place with the grid. So you can use those lines to form basic shapes like this. If we do this again, now I've clicked on the first point here, but I haven't clicked the second one. So you'll see there are two aspects, two values that are shown here. The first one is the length. So right now it says 115.000 millimeters. So you can actually modify this directly within this part of the design process. So let's say I wanted this to be 50 millimeters or 5 centimeters. Then I could just type 50, and I don't even have to type millimeters because my unit system is already set to millimeters. Those are the basic unit that are within this. So I can write millimeters. If I wanted to do 5 centimeters, it would automatically make that translation. But I'm just going to do 50 for now because it makes the most sense to me. You'll also see this sort of degree section right here with the degree value. So when it's perfectly horizontal, it's set to 0 degrees. If it's up here, it's 90, and it continues around. And there are every number you can imagine between those two, sort of brackets. Let's say I wanted this to be 45. So obviously when you move your mouse to try to click on it, the box moves as well. So if we hit tab, then it brings you to the other one. So let's say I wanted to make this 45 degrees. Boom. So we have a 50 millimeter line going at a 45 degree angle. And it just makes this construction line. When you see these dashed lines, those are called construction lines. And more on those later. If you don't want to go through and make everything with a line, you'll also see this rectangle tool. The rectangle tool allows you to click one point, and then it'll move around, and it automatically locks it into the horizontal and the vertical axes. So you don't have to worry about getting things lined up. They're not going to be crooked because they're just automatically set to be this sort of size. Sorry, rather this sort of orientation. So the same way with the line, you can actually change these values. So let's say I wanted this one to be, I'm happy with 35.355 because, it lines up with that 50. But I want to change the other one to be 100. So I'm going to type here and 100 millimeters. Boom. And just like that, does it. All the work for us. So now we have this sort of little wedge here. You can also create circles. So circles, there are a couple different ways to do circles, just cognitively, but in Fusion 360, the default is you click on a point, and a lot of times it'll lock in some sort of point, like this is the midline. This is the midline or the midpoint for this line rather. So if I were to start here, then it would drag it out, and then the distance between that original point and my mouse would be the new radius. So what's shown here, right? What's shown here is the diameter. So don't get these two things confused, or else your parts will not turn out well. But the number that's shown here is the diameter. So let's say I wanted to make this 15. Let's type in 15. There are no other values to deal with because it's just a circle. You don't need angles or anything. And boom, you got your whole little thing here. So now we got this weird looking mouse thing. By the way, I'm not designing anything specific. This is not a tutorial where I'm showing you how to design anything. I'm just walking through the tools. So don't think this is going to end up being something awesome. But it might be. You know what? I'm going to challenge myself. I'm going to challenge you as well. Make something out of this. The next, sort of set we have up here, and it might vary a little bit. These top tools that you have in your toolbar, it might vary a little bit just depending on your computer when you're downloading this, and all of those things. And you can change what's shown in your toolbar by just clicking these three dots and then say pin to toolbar, and boom, now I've got ellipse here. I don't actually want that here because I don't use the ellipse that often. But if we click on fit point spline, if it's not up here, you can click on create and then spline and fit point spline. So it's kind of a weird word, but what this does, if we click on any points, I'm going to click right here, then if we just click out an open space, now with other tools, this would just make a line, a straight line. And for right now, it does. But if we add other points, it makes that into a curve. Right? So let's say I wasn't really happy with how this turned out. I could go back through and delete the whole thing and retry it. But I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to hit escape so that I'm no longer selecting the tool. So if you escape, deselects you from the tool, and then you can drag these points around. Just click and hold and move it around. And that's super useful. Do that all the time because I make a lot of mistakes. So now we can just drag this however we want. We can make little loops if we want. I'm just going to try to make this little, I don't know, maybe I'll make a mustache. Yeah, that looks pretty good. It's a nice looking mustache, in my opinion. Alright, so we've got our little mustache thing going on. This is the mirror tool. So the mirror tool allows you to reflect, pieces, lines, shapes over a certain axis. There's also a 3-dimensional mirror tool, which we'll get into later, but this is the 2-dimensional mirror tool. So this little browser you'll see appears, browser? I don't know if that's the right word, but it says mirror, and then we have objects and the mirror line. So the objects are the thing that gets reflected, and the mirror line is just that axis we talked about. So if you look at a butterfly per se, the body of the butterfly could be considered the mirror line. Or if you were to draw a straight line directly down the middle of a butterfly's back, that would be the mirror line. The objects that are reflected would be the wings and the outside of the butterfly's body. So it's just reflected over. So objects, once selected, whenever it turns a blue like this, that means that it's selected. So I'm going to select everything I want. That's everything. And then the mirror line. The mirror line, it can be anything. Like this would work, and so would this. So I'm going to click this one, and boom, it just reflects it directly over the axis. So if we hit OK, now this is its own sort of shape. Where I'm going to go from here, let's see. I'm going to turn this way. I think I see where I want to go with this. So we also have sketch dimension. So sketch dimension. If we wanted to change the distance between two objects, then we can put in sketch dimension. Now this really applies if that sketch doesn't already have a dimension. If say I wanted to dimension this box here, the rectangle that we created, which is already 100 millimeters, it would likely pop. Let's just show you. Yep, over constrained sketch. So that just means you can't set the size of something to two different things. It just doesn't work. So it says this dimension would over constrain the sketch, which makes sense. Create a driven dimension instead. So a driven dimension just means that it would just show 100. So if I say create driven, it just clicks, it says 100. I can't change it or anything, but it tells me what it is. So that's what driven means. But let's say we wanted to change the distance for something like these eyes. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to make this little, we're going to make a nose for this guy. Because I don't know about you, but this is starting to look like a little guy to me. So I'm just going to make a nose. And that's a pretty decent looking nose. But I don't really like the proportions. I think I want to make it, taller. So what we can do here is we can click sketch dimension, and we can click a point here, or any of these lines really. We can click the point, and then this point here. And now something similar to what we see over here with the 100 appears. So if we click down, it says 8.64466 whatever. But notice it didn't say driven, because this didn't already have, or rather it didn't say over constrained. So we can make something other than driven. We can make an actual dimension for this. So let's say I wanted this to be 3. Well, I type in 3, hit enter, and it just automatically changes it. I can also change the dimension between these. So let's say I wanted this to be 15. Boom. It automatically makes that change. We can also change the angle. So if we click this line here and then this line, this angle appears. So I don't know. This nose is really pointy. I don't really like that. I'm going to make it 105. Oops. And I made it go in the wrong way. So 138. I actually want to make this a larger angle. I misread that. So if this is 180 right here and this is 138, maybe I want to go, just double tap, maybe I want to go with 155. That's a little too much. Let's go with 150. Boom. So now you can see how you can just easily make dimensions using the dimension tool. We also have, this may or may not be in your toolbar, but I think it is an important one, is 3-point rectangle. And that's very similar to the normal rectangles, but instead of having 2 points, first it just creates this line, right? So then you create the second one, and that is what lines it up for your third dimension. So now I click here, boom. And we've got this like third little chunk. So that's how you make rectangles that are tilted. And I use this one all the time. I've pinned it to my toolbar because like I just use it that much. Right now this guy's got one leg, so I'm gonna use the mirror tool once more. Reflect it over this. Oh, not the right thing. Mirror line, boom. Okay. All right, so it's looking pretty good so far. Let's see. I'm gonna extend this guy's mustache a little bit. It's a funky looking mustache for sure. But I like it. I think he looks cool. And there are all these other tools that you'll see here too. Like we haven't even, we've barely even scratched the surface for what there is that's available. Here is the ellipse tool. So let's see. If we click on a point, it's sort of similar to the circle. This is the, oh man, what's it called? The major axis. It's the major axis. Yep, it's definitely the major axis. So the length of the major axis is the first thing that we have here. And so let's say we want this to be 30. Boom, snaps into place. Now we create the minor axis. The minor axis. And so let's say we want that to be, 14. And make it 13. Boom. Now we got a dude that's screaming. Nice. So that's how you make an ellipse. Not complicated at all. And if you look in here, there are things like fillet, and you can, fillet, and you can do that either in the sketch or you can do that later on in the actual 3D design. And to do it in the sketch, you click two faces that are near each other, and then this little arc appears and just sort of rounds everything out. And yeah, you can drag this up and down. You can type in where you want it. I like there, enter, or return, and boom. So yeah, again, this is an important one. Offset. So this guy, he needs some ellipse. So click this offset tool and click on the ellipse. Now it creates this red version, which is very, very similar to the blue version, but it's offset the given number of millimeters that it says it is. So this is negative 1.587. If we go here, it's 4.6. So I'm going to go here. So that's 2.4. Boom. And there we go. Now those are the main ones you're going to be using. If there's a part that you want to trim, you can click these scissors, the trim tool, and you can just cut those out. If for some reason one of your parts is not trimming, you can escape from the tool, select that line or shape, and then just hit delete, and it deletes it. So that's another way to do it. So those are the main parts, I would say. There are other ones that you can use, such as the arc. So 3-point arc. This is Let's see, where should this go on the guy? Give him a little chin. He's gonna be a little curvy, so that's how you do it. This is the 3-point arc, right? So you click the endpoints, and then you can drag whatever you want this vertex to be. And that's kind of weird looking, so I'm not gonna add that. Text. Text we can add right here. So let's say this dude's name is Dave. How's it going, Dave? So we can make our little text box right here, type in Dave, select from any number of fonts. Let's say Arial Black. Height, we're going to change this, make it a little smaller, 8, because this is a name tag, so don't want it to be too big. You can flip it if you want. I don't know when you would use that, but there's probably a time. Character spacing, we can increase that 0.2. Doesn't change it much if it's just like that, but if you do like 1, changes a little bit. I'm just going to keep it at 0 because it doesn't really matter. You can also make this a negative number, so -5. That's too much. Okay, never mind. You can't make it a negative number. Let's just say we go with 0. You can change these parts a little bit, just depending on what you're really going for. And if we hit OK, now we got Dave. And it doesn't appear like all of the other ones, but it is actually part of a sketch. Let's say we want to add, this guy's wearing a uniform, so let's add a logo of some sort. So where does this guy work? Let's say this guy works at Walmart. So let's say Walmart logo. Now we could go through, take this picture and design it out by hand. I've done that before and it works. You can use a combination of all these tools. When I'm doing something like that, I usually use the fit point spline. If we were to go here and save image as and just download this. Oh. Now if we open up Fusion 360, we can actually insert, and we can insert a canvas. Canvas, you can also just click here, insert from my computer, and then you can click whatever image it is. So canvas is just a fancy word for an image. And I want to add it right here. So we can just scale this down, move it right here. Is that right? It's actually tilted. So we can change that here. And boom. That is a flippin' Walmart logo. So we can actually go back into our sketch. And we can edit that sketch. And if we actually have to have the canvas separate here. So if we insert another canvas, and we do the same thing that we just did, we'll want to have that on a separate bit. I didn't really think about that. My mistake. But if we have this over here, hit enter. Now, so now we can make a new sketch, and we have this, this thing to work off of. And it would get tedious to go through and try to design this all by hand, although it is totally possible. And again, I've done it many times before, but it would get tedious. So a way to work around that is if you can get an SVG, which is just another type of image file of the logo. Let's see, SVG. Save jazz. Oh, that's PNG. Let's see, SVG. can actually remove the image file, the canvas, and if we hit insert SVG, now, okay, these ones, they lied to us. They weren't actual SVG files, but we can go to PNG to SVG converter. Click on any of them. Choose files. Click on this one. And now click convert. Convert. And it's already done. So click download. And then if we go to insert SVG, now we have Walmart logo SVG. So it would be easier a lot of times if it's black and white. Yeah, that'll work. Now, what kind of image is this? What kind of image is this? That is a PNG. It's PNG. Same website. Choose files, black and white. And boom, finished. Download. Now we can go back in. It should work this time. Again, sometimes it doesn't work when it's, not straight black and white. SVG, my computer, and yeah, now definitely appears much more clearly. So it's not the same as the image was, it's just an outline. That's okay, that's all we really need. Can scale this and just put it exactly where we want it. Finish sketch. Boom. So now we got Dave. Dave is a very, very awesome Walmart worker, if I do say so myself. And there you got it. So a good way to check, because sometimes these sketch bits, these shapes that we create, won't be actual shapes. They won't be completed. There will be a gap somewhere. But as long as they're either highlighted, or you can select these things, and a lot of times they change color. It's a good sign that it is a fully finished shape that you can actually work with. Real quick before we go, I gotta do one more thing. This dude's mustache is not finished. It's not finished, so we go back through. His mustache, it's not gonna be perfect. Like, whose mustache is really perfect? So it's gonna be a little bit uneven, but that's just how mustaches are, right? You gotta just let it flow. So we're gonna go back through, give this dude a proper mustache. None of this half stash stuff, right? And skadoosh. Now he's got a real functioning, maybe not functioning. Are any mustaches functioning? Like, I don't know. He's got a good mustache. Hopefully you learned a thing or two. Maybe you even got your own little person. Share your person with me. I'll make a post of this person because Dave is a cool guy. So I hope that you learned something from this lesson. Sketching might not be the most fun thing right away, but it's really gonna, again, put another brick in that foundation of your design knowledge. And it's what's gonna allow us in the next lesson to make those things 3D. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson.